Hey everyone, in this video I want to talk about 5 ways to think about a potential cooperation between NIO and Audi. The rumor out there is that Audi is searching for a partner in China in order to get up to speed again and make a transition to electric vehicles. Let me be clear, at this point in time it's only speculation. However, let's use this video in quickly talking about a couple of points that I think are relevant to think it through, and I'll give you also my views on that. First of all, what is the situation and the context here? Well, it's clear in China, Audi is not doing great in terms of selling a lot of EVs. So the reasons for that might be in the area of the product or in the area of marketing, or simply that the competition is becoming very, very strong. But you see me sometimes comparing NIO sales figures with the German car brands, and I would say that NIO really was launched as a competitor not only to Audi but also BMW and Mercedes. And seemingly Audi is one of the weaker competitors when it comes to actually making the transition to EVs, at least in China. And one particular issue that Audi seems to have identified is that they are not quickly enough in order to come out with new models. And in general, the challenge here is that the industry has moved to a very fast-paced development cycle. I pointed out here in the channel before that I expect this to actually even become much more fierce in the future. So with the entry of Huawei and Xiaomi and the smartphone manufacturers, and also the user experience merge between the car and the smartphone as a new ecosystem. Here I think these traditional players are increasingly struggling, and this is possibly what they have identified, and therefore possibly searching now for somebody to help them to get back on track. Now, the first point I want to make here about how to think about a potential cooperation here between NIO and Audi is that, well, NIO is not the only player that they could possibly partner up with. So there's Huawei out there, there's Xiaopeng out there are more traditional players such as Geely out there. So there are plenty of vehicle platforms to choose from, and some of them have been incredibly successful in the recent past around bringing out new models, and so NIO is not the only one that they can actually pick. Number two is that if they would go to pick NIO, then that implication would also be that they are choosing battery swapping, because of course if they go for the NIO platform, which will be the vehicle skateboard that is by XPT, a 100% owned NIO company, then of course that would imply that Audi cars in the future might be able to battery swap, because simply that's the kind of the platform that NIO is offering, right? So you can see this is getting a little bit more complex there, because it would not only be about achieving the goal of actually having a faster cadence of product cycles and speeding up and have a let's say successful scaled vehicle platform that they can build on. No, it would in addition also mean that they have chosen actively that the NIO infrastructure build out and battery swapping has some advantages, maybe because of course this is targeted at the more premium segment as an added USP, and therefore they would opt for the NIO platform. Now, the third aspect to consider here is that there are some links between NIO and Volkswagen, right? So we do see from time to time some news around Volkswagen investing heavily in Hefei. So that's also where the NIO headquarters is after the Hefei agreement, which got famously the bailout for NIO. And for this closeness between the NIO's joint venture partner here for manufacturing, JAC, and also Volkswagen getting closer and closer to that partner, that might imply that there are some overlaps or synergies there that could potentially implicate that a deal between NIO and Volkswagen or Audi here, by the way, Audi is of course a Volkswagen brand, might make sense, and therefore has a higher probability, for example, than let's say Audi picking Xiaopeng here as a platform. The fourth point to consider here is that well, let's be frank, NIO might need a partner in the future in order to become successful. NIO is just a startup company, and well, we can see their own struggle from time to time when it comes to sales, when it comes to even transitioning between platforms. Well, you got that covered here on the channel, right? And so would it be in NIO's interest to actually partner up with somebody like Audi? Well, that's something to consider there, but one might also argue that, well, it's like, partnering up with your enemy. How realistic is that? And we know, for example, about things like that Audi is suing NIO for the naming rights in Germany. So from NIO's point of view, how realistic is it that you would actually get into the bed with your enemy there? The fifth and the last point here to consider is, would this actually solve Audi's problem? Well, that they say like now they are not fast enough and they are not getting compelling products out to the customers, and therefore they need to solve that issue. Well, certainly they would depend on another vehicle manufacturer's platform, which may take away some of the pain for the development cycle. However, it would also really make them dependent, right? And maybe limit them also in a way that, yeah, it's not clear that this would actually be a success factor in the end. Also, the problem here would be like, what will be an Audi in the end if it's all based on a partner like NIO's platform, for example? What can Audi bring onto the table then from a consumer's point of view? Is it a better car interior experience, or is it just the Audi brand, or what else? Is it the service? You see, there are plenty of issues still with just making this decision, and it's nowhere clear that this can actually be a successful venture if they are going to do that. So going through all of these 5 points, I think you can clearly hear a little bit that the probabilities of such a deal aren't particularly high, because there are quite a bit of obstacles there, and the likelihood that this will be a NIO Audi cooperation in the future is actually quite diminishing, I would say. On the other hand, speaking from NIO's point of view here, I would say there are, at some point, NIO really needs to make some deals. I'm actually expecting that we should get a couple of announcements in the next few months. Whether that is more related to something like the Abu Dhabi deal on a strategic level, or it's about another OEM accepting battery swapping as a platform, but also the whole infrastructure and ecosystem. By the way, I've just done a Patreon-only video about a little bit more of my background talks that I'm doing there, and some hints that I'm getting here. But clearly NIO is facing its own struggles, and it's nowhere clear whether or not NIO will be successful in their own ventures. And therefore, I think right now it seems to be a perfect time for me to announce great deals, or not only announce great deals, but working on great deals that can secure the future of NIO, and helping them with some strategic goals, for example, globalization, internationalization, fundraising, getting on a path to profitability, and also, finally just executing on the big vision of Li Bin there. So we'll see what kind of deals are coming out of this. Is it an Audi NIO deal? Well, I just said I think probabilities are quite low, but it's not certainly out of this world. There are some overlaps there, which I pointed out in this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.